Welcome back to Kin in Line. This I make part 62. Yeah, 62. And I think they call these ramparts in military jargon. And basically, this is the base we stopped at in northern Namibia, and where we've spent just under 3 months. Well, where I did. In the distance here, you'll see that's a guard little emplacement, I guess. And I had a bit of drama there because I had to do a lot of standing guard as I was part of HQ company. You can see the sort of trees are, I like to think, sort of Van Gogh-like. But on one occasion there, I was standing guard, I think it's in that one, which was close to the entrance to the base, which was just to the right. And this rattle, I think they called it, is a very flat sort of what almost looked like your modern 4x4s, I suppose, that the Southwest African police, what were they called? There was some notoriously brutal, I suppose, section of cops, and they arrived with this prisoner, a black guy without a shirt on, just in shorts, I think, and his hands cuffed behind him, and they were going in to see the commanding officer and so forth. And anyway, I was stuck up there standing guard just by myself, I think. There was a machine gun in this place, which I wouldn't have known how to use. So I just had my rifle, and this blindfolded chap was given into my custody, can you believe? And they told me to guard him while they went and, I don't know what I would have done if he'd somehow managed to start running away. But anyway, it was the most uncomfortable couple of hours that I spent with this oak. Yeah, anyway, so that was how the encampment looked, the ramparts, these just graded up, sort of low earth walls, really. I had obviously acquired more cheap paper. So this was the view from probably one of those that same guard place, out towards the little village that was about 500 meters away, if that. And it was, again, there's a Van Gogh quality to this drawing, which I quite enjoy. The sort of dusty track leading to these, there was a name for these cooker, something like that. Yeah, and part of being up and about all day long in the army is you see a lot of sunrises and sunsets. And this was probably a sunset, with silhouetted dead trees. And this was definitely a sunrise. So we used to have to do what they call stand to, and that was before sunrise, we'd all have to go into these kind of trenches, almost like bunkers or something. And I think these tents were outside of the camp. Now, I don't know what they were doing there, but anyway, they made quite a nice graphic design, really. And here we have the classic cattle, these indigenous cattle. I don't think they were Nguni, but they were certainly. And here my drawing technique from Jack Logue's art school is coming to the fore here, especially in this one. So shared a tent with some quite decent guys, and this is one of them writing home. Took about a month and a half to get a letter back. Maybe that was just me. anyway, one wrote in hope. There seems to be a whole section of guys writing. You've seen this before from 2 years in the National Service, so I kept at it. Another guy with a interesting, you wrote however you find yourself comfortable. I quite enjoy this. It's almost like a sculpture. And then we just got more little notepads, so we're going to have to see what's in these. I would have torn those out for purposes of scanning them for my book that never happened. And this guy, I remember, he would have been called a traitor by his mates, but he was part of the South African Defence Forces people. So one of the few black people that I encountered anyway. I don't know what the guys who walk patrol, if they ever had any encounters with so-called terrorists. And here we got another of these cattle. At least that was something new for me. It was pretty different to what I was used to. Sorry, these notebooks are quite hard to... Oh, another one. And I seem to have encountered a few birds in a tree. If I'd known my birds back then, I would have at least made my life a bit more meaningful by working out what species these are. Looks like it might have been some sort of bee-eater, looking at the head. Yeah, that have been a bee-eater. I'll have to ask my son Luke, he's the expert. And just a view of some of the adjacent settlement where the locals we were meant to win their hearts and minds. While I was standing guard once, I saw a helicopter hovering above this settlement, and I'm pretty sure there was a guy with a gun sticking out, shooting down into this place. That's the closest action I witnessed. Wasn't pleasant, I have to say. Another of these cattle. Life moved very slowly there, You saw the cattle move out during the morning and then come back at night. And yeah, quite interesting to see how life was there for these people who really survived on next to nothing, I suspect. There was a pool of stagnant water next to the only tap, I think, in the area, which seemed to bring them their water supply. We had to, one of our projects was to try and dig a trench away from this pool of stagnant water, but the earth was so hard, digging a trench was virtually impossible without mechanical assistance. So that's a very odd looking animal. This guy was called Doc. He was a medic. So every medic virtually is called Doc, even though they're generally not doctors. He was just like a male nurse, basically a medic. I think this is from that series of drawings I did while the chap was being worked on who cut his hand. You might come across that drawing later. I hope it's in here. one of our mates in the, that's drawing that doesn't make sense. Wednesday, 19 October, 3:51. Today has been the most depressing day so far on this camp. Haven't heard from Anne. So there were, what are these things called again? Yeah, you know them. What happens when you get to 65, your memory for certain things simply goes away. So two of the local residents, one I think with a baby, the other just sitting in the shade under a tree, quite like the Van Gogh-like drawing of a tree there. Another bird scurrying across the hot sand. And another pig. Oh, and then they wove these beautiful baskets. So I'm quite chuffed I got this drawing of one of them with a friend nearby weaving. I mean, it sort of made you realize that aesthetically, these were advanced people. They were making fantastic artwork, crafts, using. So this was another of the medics, quaint chap really. I think the drawing shows my attitude towards him. A lot of writing again here. You can see my latent journalist trying to come out. It's all political, this. I can see Tutu's name mentioned up there. Reform. Oh, gee. One day I'll have to go through all this and make another video just on all this stuff I wrote. There is sure to be another drawing, because I could never leave a book like this unsketching. Surely not. Yeah. I think this would have been my idealized view of my short-lived wife. She liked her high heels. Not sure what that is. Looks like a sculpture of some sort. A little poem about a Vambo boy. Gee. One would have to spend some time going through this. It would be quite interesting, I think. And then a bit of light relief in the shape of a woman. Yeah, I'll have to leave us looking at something better than army and soldiers and stuff. I'll be back shortly. Cheers.